Welcome to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be discussing the killing of a sacred deer.
Shit. Sorry.
One of
I thought
the-
I was muted, guys.
One of the most batshit crazy movies that we've ever reviewed on the show. We'll get to that in a little bit. First up, joining me, he's on his deathbed, folks, but he still has joined us on the show. Please welcome business manager John Schnars.
Hello, everyone.
You gotta pause the cough now.
I'm doing my best to not cough. I got some tea here. It's gonna be good.
Next up on the show, the High Priestess of Books at Bloody Good Horror, hot off her first ever year-end show. Please welcome Cece to the show.
Hello.
How you feeling? You still basking in the glow of the year-end show?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm hoping that'll carry me through at least until, spring.
Yeah.
When the warmth of the world hopefully returns.
Yeah, I was feeling good there riding high, and then I saw the news for the first time. Was like, oh, never mind. Things are still terrible. I thought we had cured it all. Last up on the show tonight, coming to us from Chicago. He drinks beer. It looks like maybe he got a haircut recently.
Yeah.
No? His name is Joe.
John, can I have your MP3 player when you are dead?
John, you have a nice body. Please
John.
show me your hair.
Your MP3 player. I keep losing mine. Can I have yours when you are dead?
Joe, that is a spot-on impersonation of the acting in this movie.
Nailed it.
Hello, John Schnars. I just got my first period.
Here's
So,
a
yeah.
story about me jerking off my dad.
Oh, man.
So yeah, we're here tonight to talk about the killing of a sacred deer. But first... Oh. Tend to your buddy there, Joe. Something we forgot on the last week's show was our anticipated movies of 2018. We actually had a whole list we were going to go over, but we decided to just kind of boil it down to like, what are we familiar with that actually looks interesting?
I mean, my big one, and Cece, I think you're gonna jump on this too. The Lords of Chaos book, or the like film adaptation of the Lords of Chaos book. I am super fired up for that. For those who aren't in the know, it's this the Lords of Chaos is. It's not really it's pretty much a chronicle of black metal in Norway. But then they also venture out into like Viking metal and like all these different styles.
Is it a
So
book
it's not-
or is it one of those documentaries?
It's a book,
Yeah.
but they had like this accompanying documentary called "Until the Light Takes Us," which I think Eric, you may have actually
I
stumbled
saw a
upon while ago.
documentary about a bunch of that stuff, and they touch on the church burning or something, and then the
Yep.
band where
Yeah.
the one dude killed the other dude or something.
Exactly, and this movie is kind of that part of it, where they focus on the murder. It should be pretty good. I mean, the only bummer is I was reading when we were talking about doing this list, they don't have the rights to any of the music of these bands, which is obviously a pretty integral part of
Like
the whole
none
story.
of it? I thought it was like some of the.
Don't
rights.
worry, they'll make some fake bullshit to throw in there.
Well, it's interesting because this guy Varg Vikernes, I'm probably saying his last name wrong, but he's kind of the one. There's a few surviving members of this band Mayhem, but they've all kind of rotated around. He's the one who's really kind of a stickler about it. And then these other guys formed like Dark Throne and a couple other bands. All of them have kind of said like, "F you, we don't want our music to be a part of this." So it's kind of like bands, but not have any of it. I mean, the plus side is black metal, especially like back when these guys were putting it out, is pretty much unrecognizable. So they could fake it pretty easily. So
Why, Joe? Why don't they want their music involved?
I mean, I watched this interview with Varg, and full disclosure, the guy's a huge anti-Semite, so don't do a ton of
Yeah.
which is also part of the fun story there. He just said that like I guess they read the script or they got their hands on it and they weren't really staying true to the original story. Some of his reasoning plays into his anti-Semitism.
This is bullshit. There's
you know,
hardly any anti-Semitism in this movie.
too much like pro-Semitic material in the
well,
script.
100% honest, and I'm drawing a blank. I'm probably getting this wrong, but like one of the guys that they cast that is playing him, if I remember right, is actually Jewish, and like he was all pissy about that.
You're a rabid anti-dentite.
Yeah, so it's a whole weird backstory, but I mean, I find the actual story of these guys like super fascinating and like just how into it they really get. So
yeah,
I have high hopes for this.
It's a rare based on actual events horror film. You know?
It is, yeah. Although, and again, like the guys that are still alive or were involved with this whole scene say that they kind of gloss over it or they're not really telling the true story. So I'm kind of interested to see how they actually end up doing this. Apparently the director, whose name I forget, really has nothing to do, like has not been involved in the black metal scene, as they put it. So the way that
what a loser.
Well, the way that this guy Bark is describing it is like it's just like them trying to cash in on this interesting story. Whereas like where you look at something like Deathgasm, like what I loved about that was you could tell that the director knew the music and loved it and like portrayed it really well. This, I think the concern is that it could just be played off as like, these are metal guys. Let's put a Metallica shirt on them and, call it a day. So
it's kind of like how, like those who read The Ritual, the book that we read for the book club, I feel like they're kind of worried it would turn into that because it becomes kind of a mockery there at the end, like what actually happens when they're like burning churches and trying to sacrifice people. So
yeah,
like
well, Joe, there's only one genre of metal, right, Joe? Just metal.
No.
That's how I understand it. Anyway.
well played, Eric. Well played.
There's metal and there's heavy metal and there's like hair bands and that's
and then there's new metal, right?
Yeah, well, of course, the holy triumvirate of metal, heavy metal, and new metal.
Of course.
Because the old metal got old and you needed new metal. It makes sense.
All of them boils down to just that.
Cece, what's on your list?
So it was pretty slim. So besides that, I actually watched the trailer for The Strange Ones, which I don't even know how to explain it. It looks like a kind of vacation movie gone wrong, but it's very, I don't know. It seems like a bit of a slow psychological burner. So I'm kind of into it. It's got Alex Pettyfer. I guess that's how you say his name. He's a horrible actor, so I don't know how I feel about that. But
not a good start.
It's not a good start. He plays a teetotal dick in every movie he's been in, and it's been a lot of like young adult type things. So maybe the trailer was just good and the movie will suck. Who knows?
Schnars.
So I was gonna go with 2017 Cloverfield movie because I don't think it actually has a name yet. It's funny because I feel like we've seen there was like a maybe I'm like imagining it, but I thought there was a trailer floating around.
I've heard it's that one we saw with John Krasinski and what the hell's his name? Who's his wife? I saw it before,
Emily Blunt.
Yeah, like I saw the trailer before.
A Quiet Place.
The downsizing.
Somebody
on our Slack channel was saying A Quiet Place is potentially that movie.
Oh, maybe.
Is it because there? I mean, this is the weird thing about this movie.
It's a space thing.
Yeah.
I read the Cloverfield thing takes place in space.
Well, and I just clicked on the trailer.
Oh no! It's God Particle is the Cloverfield 2018.
That's the one that I was thinking of. Is God Particle? But I swear there was a trailer for God Particle, and then it just like completely disappeared.
Huh.
Spoiler alert.
So in any event,
it's
supposed to be released on February 2nd. But it doesn't even have a title on Box Office Mojo, so who the hell knows? It's God Particle, Quiet Place.
Well, that last one dropped out of freaking nowhere, though. That was crazy. Like, so they might be just keeping a tight lid on it. You never know.
Oh, they're definitely running that game plan. No, so I'm not. That movie was that and
fucking awesome.
I'm gonna instead go with, and I hope Eric this wasn't yours, but Mortal Engines.
It's one of mine. That looks really cool. I hadn't even heard of it until I saw The Last Jedi, and I got a trailer, and I was like, whoa. What is this thing?
Same thing here.
The guy's like, "What's that?" And the other guy's like, "It's London."
Yeah, it's I guess it's like a steampunk kind of book series. I think there's 4 books. So who knows? These things can.
Have you seen the trailer for this, CC?
No, I
so
haven't.
it's being billed as a Peter Jackson thing, although I looked closer and he's just producing it.
Yeah, he's
But
producing.
it's like it's literally like people live on these giant machines, like wheeled machines that like traverse the landscape.
It's very
and it's these people in a little like machine that kind of looks like a little town, and they're just flying around, and then they see this giant machine, and somebody's like, "What's that?" And he's like, "It's London," and it's just this giant, unwieldy city of London on wheels, like wheeling around this like post-apocalyptic landscape. It looks batshit crazy. I don't know what's going on.
Wow.
So this guy,
I'll have to watch it.
The director Christian Rivers, has basically worked on every Peter Jackson film, and according to his Wikipedia page, he met Peter Jackson when he was 17 years old, and he's storyboarded every single one of his films since Braindead. So they're pretty tight. They're tight.
Yeah.
Good
Wow.
Is Christian Rivers a bastard on Game of Thrones?
It would be a bastard name, yes.
From the Riverlands.
It's Joan's son, right? That's what this is.
So
yeah, that's like that.
What were you gonna say, Cece?
Oh, I was just gonna talk about another movie that I realized. Annihilation, which is based on the book series. I'm really excited about that, especially because I've started the book series. I just haven't finished it. But it's the same director who did Ex Machina, so I'm really excited because I really enjoyed that movie.
Me too, Cece. That was my pick.
Ah, see, I knew I should have not.
So yeah, so it also has
asshole.
What's her face? Natalie Portman, who's amazing, and Oscar Isaac, who obviously was in Ex Machina. I just found this article too on Deadline that says that they've negotiated a deal where 17 days after it comes out here, it's going to get released on like international Netflix.
Oh wow!
Oh, so you
which
gotta,
is
like,
some kind of a pretty groundbreaking deal. So I kind of want to. I actually is on my list, CC, of books to read after I finish A Dance with Dragons. But by the time there's no way I'll be able to finish it before the movie. So I think I'm just going to read it after the movie, which is fine. I feel like that's almost better for me anyway. But
well, I was gonna say you enjoyed Game of Thrones that way, so I can't imagine you wouldn't.
Yeah, and
that it would matter too much.
I wanted to get Cece's judgment in here. Like, do you think Eric could handle reading this book?
I mean, yeah.
What are you trying to say, Schnars?
Game of Thrones. I mean,
I am on my
convoluted as like the beginning is. I think
the thing with
you
Game
set
of
your
Thrones
bar really
though.
high, so I think you're good.
The thing with Game of Thrones though is that watching the show helped give me a really solid foundation of like who the characters were, what the place, what the world looks like all that stuff. So then reading back through the book, it's like I already had my bearings. Like I do really wonder, I really wonder if I could have read these books without like just going in cold, without knowing what I was getting into.
Well, I mean, I think that, if like fantasy or, kind of sci-fi isn't really a genre that you feel wholeheartedly about, then yeah, I think if it's
how would I know, Cece? I've never read books before. I wouldn't know this.
Maybe try reading it. Yeah, maybe try reading a different one before.
I've literally only until this. I've only ever read nonfiction.
I mean, I didn't really
ask a question and it'll.
What Schnars?
Do what?
You robot.
I was gonna to ask a question as a subtle promo for our Patreon. But Cece, do we have a Slack channel for books and book type things?
Are you kidding me?
I think everything just gets crammed into the book club.
BGH book club, John.
Which is better because I mean it's a pretty happening conversation there, I have to say.
Yeah. No. All right. I'm proud. I will be joining the channel this evening.
I'm a member. I'm a member, John. You know why? Because I read books.
Yes, John. Or Eric talks about books quite often.
I often go in there and make comments about Game of Thrones that nobody responds to.
Oh well.
Well, that's my problem. Like I read one book every 3 months.
Yeah.
And you guys are like, I finished this one today. I finished this one tomorrow.
No, it's ridiculous, Joe. I'm with you.
I'm on page 7.
I started reading what's it called, the 5th season. Have you heard of this, CC?
Mm-mm.
And I am obsessed with it, so I'll take it to Slack. I'll take it over to Slack.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let me Google this too, so I'll know what you're talking about.
And if anyone would like to join in that conversation,
what is it about?
If you navigate to patreon.com, you can find out how. No, it's sort of like a fantasy series that I like read. So the 3rd book in this trilogy just came out like earlier this year, and I like read about it for the first time then. and I was like, oh, this sounds like something I'm pretty interested in. It's like hard for me to even like get into, but it's definitely fantasy. It's fantasy with a little bit of like, I don't want to call it sci-fi because it's not, but they're like the fantasy is itself based in some science. Yeah, Joe.
I'll be honest, Nars. I'm still kind of hung up on your suggestion that I'm too stupid to read Annihilation.
All right, good. That's trying to challenge you.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna read it out of spite now. So there you go.
Yeah. It worked. Well, it's only a trilogy, so I think you can handle it.
Well, the nice thing about the Kindle sample is like I can get an idea. Like if I get through the sample and I'm like, then I usually just move on.
Yeah, that's true. Right. And John, it looks like if you join our Goodreads group as well, you can see that some of our Goodreads members who are also Patreon members have read the book and can't wait for the next 2 to come out. And that was back in 2016. So I think we'll have some conversations.
Oh, have you guys done the last days of Jack Sparks? I feel like
no, we're doing that this year. I think
I'm reading it now. I love it.
Oh, good. Great. Well, I think it's in June or July. That is.
Oh, I could probably finish it by then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Be under the wire.
Keep plugging away, Joe.
Yeah.
Keep plugging away. All right.
Nice work, Joe.
Yeah.
Speaking of reading slowly, what are we drinking tonight?
Beer guts.
Drinking actually makes me read way faster, and but I just don't remember any of it.
Yeah, your attention goes down.
You get like 6 pages through, and you realize I have no idea what just happened. What the hell is this movie called? The Killing of a Sacred Deer?
Yeah.
Tough. I'm not gonna go into full details of why I picked this beer, but there's some interesting conversations and events that happen throughout this movie, and I'm sure we'll touch on it when we discuss the film. But I'm just gonna go ahead and give the beer. It's from the fine folks at Trogs Independent Brewing. They are based out of Hershey, Pennsylvania. And the beer I picked that goes along with this movie is Nugget Nectar. For reasons which we will probably discuss later. It is it's a little hard to describe. It's an American amber or red ale, but that style usually has a good amount of hops, but this is like super punched with delicious hops, usually fresh. It's a seasonal beer they only put out once a year, but when they do, it's usually pretty popular. Actually, when we went up to Mark's bachelor party, your brother had a case of this stuff, Eric, and I was super excited because I do not get it out here in the Midwest. But it's one of my favorite beers, and everything Trogs put out is really good. And since they moved their brewery, they're actually right next to Hershey Park, so you can enjoy a day at the roller coasters and then go next door and have a few of these. Comes in at 7.5% alcohol, so it's definitely up there. And like I said, like there's a ton of hops flavor in this, but you also get a lot of that like malt and it kind of balances things out, but definitely the hops are the forefront of this. What else? Trogs.com is their website, and like I said, like everything they put out is great, and I'm bummed that we don't get it out here in the Midwest, but I'm hoping that they will start distributing further soon. But on the East Coast, you can definitely find it in a lot of spots, and I definitely recommend checking them out.
Nice. Thank you for that, Joe. That's the beer recommendation, something you get here every week on the show. Breaking news, just because it seems like something worth mentioning. Somebody just liked this picture on my Instagram from 2014 of the cover of Monsterd. You guys can't read that because it's backwards.
Yeah, I can see it.
It's hashtagged Monsterd, so I guess it's possible they were just trolling the Monsterd hashtag.
As you do.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of mention of the movie on Twitter, I guess. It's just weird. Anyway, also I want to mention, not turd related. Next weekend, Tweet with BGH is happening. I'm looking for the text right now. This Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7:30 for the pre-show. They're live streaming You're Next, the new class. So if you are a patron, you can check that out. Keep an eye on your email and Twitter at Bloody Good Horror, at BG Horror. I'm on my shit tonight. All right, guys, let's take a quick break so that we can discuss the killing of a sacred deer.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big breaking TV. Welcome to prime time, bitch. Main feature.
And we're back. Almost knocked my plate over. John Schnars.
You touching my spaghetti.
Please bring us the word of the day. I have no segues tonight, sorry.
That's, you know what? That's all right. Here we are. The word is incongruous. Not in harmony or keeping with the surroundings of other aspects of something. Incongruous, INCONGRUOUS. And it comes to us, as many things do, from the Latin. In meaning not, and congruous meaning agreeing or suitable.
Political.
There you go. Yeah. There's a lot you could say about this film that was
You also could have used the word android, as in this entire family has been replaced by androids who are pretending to be humans.
All right. Let's not start editorializing too soon.
No, it's not editorializing. All right, John. What's this movie about?
So The Killing of a Sacred Deer, 2017 psychological horror film. At least that's what how Wikipedia describes it. Directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. People who are familiar with Yorgos are likely familiar with his earlier film, The Lobster, which came out, I believe, last year. And then his other sort of like biggest film is probably Dogtooth, which 2009 or thereabouts. But yeah, this was, so he is, as you can probably guess by his name, a Greek gentleman. This film stars.
I was really, really hoping we might get some Joe Greek accents tonight.
Oh, it'll probably get there. Don't worry.
We can work on it. The film stars Colin Farrell, Nicole Kidman, a couple of kids, all really interesting. And then Alicia Silverstone makes a little appearance, which I thought was interesting. Yeah, and so the general plot is that you have Colin Farrell. He plays the father of this family with Nicole Kidman. They have a son and a daughter, and we see him early in the film sort of engaging in this very sort of strange relationship with this kid Martin. It is very up in the air about or as to what that is the nature of their relationship. He brings Martin in to meet his family fairly early on, and what is eventually revealed is that Colin Farrell is a cardiologist, cardiac surgeon, and has killed in the past Martin's father during a surgery. It's sort of unclear if it was his fault or like what exactly the outcome was, but because of this, Martin, at one point, sort of, it's almost halfway through the film, essentially tells Colin Farrell that he now has to kill one of his family members, so either his wife or one of his kids, or they will all sort of go through this progressive degenerative disorder. We see his son start to go through it, and he goes through like a battery of tests at this hospital that they work at. They can't figure anything out. The doctors all say it's like the psychosomatic thing, but Colin Farrell, Nicole Kidman, they're both doctors. She's an ophthalmologist. He's a surgeon.
Colin Farrell just keeps telling them they should be embarrassed of themselves.
Yeah, well, but they do both come to sort of believe that Martin has this almost like, I don't know, metaphysical or extra sensory power over them and is causing them to be sick. At no point does Nicole Kidman start to go through this, but it is sort of hinted that she will. And so, yeah, it kind of forces this family into this pretty interesting, almost like a Sophie's Choice type situation, but
Beat you to it,
a little crazier with lots of side digressions.
All right. Cece, what do you think of this movie?
So like I mentioned in the email train, I don't train, whatever.
People all over the world, join hands. Join an email train.
I love it. I don't know that I enjoyed the movie, like enjoyed the actual, 2-hour length of it. But by the end of it, I think that I liked the movie. I didn't watch a trailer beforehand, so I didn't really know what to expect. And that's probably for the best because I was not really immediately weirded out. I was just mostly trying to figure out what was supposed to be going on, or like if I was supposed to understand why these characters were acting the way they were. But overall, I thought that it was a really well done modern retelling of a Greek tragedy, which obviously, because the director is Greek, I can see a lot of those influences, and I'm sure we can get into that later. But it gets a little convoluted, I think, with his ideas, but overall, it was relatively successful in its stressfulness, I will say.
Joe.
I loved this movie. We talked about it over the email, like, yeah. I honestly think this I'm bummed we didn't watch this last year, because this definitely would have made it into my top 10 and probably pretty high. I was a big fan of The Lobster when I saw it. And I think the thing I love about it, and what I find like both these films to actually be like on the humorous side. I mean, definitely The Lobster more than this, but like the deadpan delivery, especially like Colin Farrell, like I just think he does it so well in this. Everything is so like monotone and just straightforward, and a lot of the dialogue is like delivered like there's just no internal filter. Like we'll kind of talk about it. Like some of the stuff these guys say, like the first time he meets the daughter, like Colin Farrell tells him that like she just got her first period, and like everyone's like, oh, okay, yeah.
Like you do.
Like there's just a lot of that. Like, and there's this story that he tells his son, who's like can't be more than like 11, 12, just like insane, but like somehow like fits the movie. Like to me, it didn't feel like they were trying to just be like shocking to have like weird stuff going on. Like for whatever reason, like I felt like it fit with the entire tone of this movie. And I thought the tension was done really well, like especially towards the end. Like we get to a part, and I'm not really giving much away, but like when Colin Farrell finally confronts this kid, like I think that like was played really well, and like to the point where like you kind of side with the kid, but you're kind of siding with Colin Farrell, and like I think Nicole Kidman is a really good like in between of those two, because she starts to call him out. Colin Farrell, who plays her husband, like call him out for his mistakes that he's made to kind of lead up to this. Like I don't know. Overall, I really like this movie a lot.
John Schnars.
Yeah, I just finished watching this about 30 minutes before we hopped on. And I think I agree with Joe. I think this movie is really, really good. And so I came into this, I had seen The Lobster. We actually covered it on Fist Cult, and I love that movie. And
yeah, I agree.
I agree with Joe. I think it's funny. I think The Lobster's funnier. This is like way more stressful and actually like hits closer to home in a lot of ways. I mean, CC, your point. I mean, so I saw it looks like it's a Euripides play. It might be the final Euripides play that this was sort of based on, and like
yeah, I think so.
It's I don't want to say it's heavy-handed about hitting some of that stuff, but it definitely like he like leans into it a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is just wacky. I came into this sort of having expectations, having seen The Lobster, about like what Yorgos was gonna get up to. I didn't know the plot at all, even though I had seen the trailer, and I was just transfixed. And the kids are all really good.
Oh God, they're awesome. Especially, I thought the daughter was amazing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be able to like maintain that and that consistency was like it's. I get why Eric hates it, but I mean that's super impressive.
I haven't even said that yet. How do you know that?
I was gonna say,
well,
you hey,
like, sorry to be a spoiler, but
yeah. So I hated this movie. I didn't just hate this movie. I fucking hated this movie with a just undying, burning passion. But
But you made it through the whole thing. You didn't like turn it off or anything.
Barely.
No.
If
All
I
right.
didn't have to do it for the show,
if
I didn't have to do this for the show, I don't think I would have made it 15 minutes in, because like I couldn't get over the acting, and so that was my first hurdle. Like you turn the movie on, and the thing you have to know about watching this movie is that the director said to these actors, I want you to act like you're a literal robot who's never had a human emotion before. I want you to talk like a 1950s robot in a sci-fi movie. So Colin Farrell gets on, and he's like, hello, dear. What is for dinner tonight? And like he delivers every line that way.
I mean,
so do the kids.
You're doing an extreme version.
No.
Listen,
here. I couldn't get past it. So the kids do the same thing. The only actor in the movie who pulls it back a little bit is Nicole Kidman, and by like because of that, she gives like by far the best performance. And I think she is the only things like approaching human moments in the script. I like to, in my little headcanon I've created, Nicole Kidman like heard what the director wanted and was like had too much pride, so she just like pulled it back just like a little bit so she could like stand out from everybody else. But like I don't
think so.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get over like the delivery. And so because that was bothering me, it's also incredibly slow. Like there's no plot movement for 50 minutes. And like because I checked. And so it's very slow. I think it has a style to it. A lot of like slow zooms and some very kind of tension-filled, eerie music that kind of reminded me of like The Shining. Very kind of 70s psychological supernatural horror. That stuff's great, but nothing's really happening. It's not really. There's these interesting moments where his style and the music is creating, it's making you feel uncomfortable when you're just in what should be a pretty normal run-of-the-mill moment actually feels off because of the music, like in an interesting way. But that's pretty much it for like 50 minutes. So I was like, okay, like what's this movie about? And it made me hostile from the beginning. So it made it kind of difficult for me to like buy into it even once it started happening. I do think that the finale gets pretty buck wild. Like when they're in the living room with the gun, let's say, like that shit was fucking crazy, but also like still kind of silly in the way that the rest of the movie is silly. But there's one moment that I think this movie actually connected with me, and that was, I don't even remember exactly what the scene is. I think it's a scene where Nicole Kidman is finally kind of confronting him. They're in the kitchen, I think.
It wasn't where she pretended to be on anesthesia.
Right, that definitely was relevant to the rest of the movie. So, but no, like there's a moment where Nicole Kidman and him are having this this pretty pivotal conversation, and the camera just kind of is like this low angle up on her, and this very slow zoom on her face as she's giving this sort of monologue, and there was some kind of effect. It must have been the lens or the depth of field where like the area around her face seemed to be kind of pulsating in a weird, like the background. It was so intense, and she's delivering what I think is like by far the kind of the best acting moment in the script. And that was like the one moment where I was like, oh, I kind of like get this, but
that's the sequence where he flips out and starts like pulling everything out of the
right.
I always watch
and talking about pubes,
crying.
So
because he obviously does not respect her profession. Like he thinks that what is she? She's an
ophthalmologist.
That's so below like what he's doing. And like, because what does he say? Like, we can just fix him by like grinding some like teeth, pubes, and like something else. And then he just starts slamming the cabinets looking for pubes.
Well, isn't he talking there about though, like, because there's kind of teetering on whether this is like some kind of supernatural thing, right? So isn't that what that's about? About like,
well, yeah, because they're arguing whether or not it's like psychosomatic, whether it's actually happening, or whether it's like something that is just
because they're both theoretically like rational people, so that's it's obvious they're having like trouble dealing with this idea. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of just gonna sit back the rest of the show and let you guys tell me why you thought it was good, because I don't really have much else to say. But I found the decision to have them act like this because it's intentional. Like everybody's acting in the same way. It's bizarre and like really off-putting, and I don't understand. I never was able to connect with it to understand the connection as to why you would want your actors to not act like humans. Like what? This is my actual last thing. Sorry. It reminded me. It reminded me of a Lars von Trier film in the way that Lars von Trier makes movies where you're like, has this guy ever like talked to a human being before? But the thing is, I don't believe that Lars von Trier is capable of making a movie with real human emotions in it because he doesn't understand real human emotions. Like whereas like that a Von Trier movie feels more like a natural outcropping of who he is, which is a friggin' weirdo. Whereas this is like so put on. It's like it's just put on. Is the only way I can, and I don't get it. I don't understand what
it is. All right. I mean, there's a couple of things to acknowledge. One,
I'm just gonna take my headphones off. You guys go ahead.
Well, he directs this movie, like the amount of directions that, because to your point, it's not just the acting style, right? It is all of the camera movements. It's the shots. The music is fucking crazy in this movie. Like across the board, it's great. And so it's interesting that you pull up Von Trier because like they both are directors who are trying to put forward just a different style of filmmaking. I mean, I don't style might not be the right word, but they are trying to explore something different. And I think everything that you're hitting on, I don't even disagree with it. But the argument that I would make, and so like I'll make an analogy that CC can like snicker at, but I think of it like I think of like modernist painting, right? So like when you see like Picasso paintings, like you don't look at it and go, oh, that doesn't look like a woman. Like what's this idiot doing? He doesn't understand what women look like.
Speak for yourself, John.
No, but what he's doing, you know, whether through deconstruction or just like making different stylistic choices, they're like forcing you. And I would argue that Yorgos, I call him by his first name, Yorgos makes choices here that force you to reckon with the film and experience the film in a very specific way, which is off-putting if you're not used, like if we're pretty conditioned by like Hollywood cinema. So this is weird. It's weird as hell. Like I said, I kind of came into this having seen The Lobster, having a little bit more familiarity. I thought this was probably less accessible, mainly because it wasn't as directly funny. Like there weren't as many sort of like straight jokes. I actually didn't think, I was confused whether I was supposed to think it was funny at all until pretty close to the end when it like just really started to go off the rails. And I'm like, holy shit, like this guy is just crazy. So
it's so slow though. Didn't you guys find it to be like incredibly slow?
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think that part of that, I mean, obviously it's very intentional, and to kind of go off of what John was saying, I think that he's really trying hard to produce a modern cinematic version of a Greek tragedy, because Greek tragedies are set up in a very specific way, and you have a spoken monologue or a spoken dialogue, then you have, you know, singing, which happens in the movie, like you have these like this huge overtone. You also have the daughter being in chorus, which like we see happens like multiple times. And I think that in his adaptation of that, he wanted these robotic, to take your description of them, these robotic characters who come from super clinical, clean, sterile, you know, non-emotional backgrounds, which we often associate with men of science because, you know, you're supposed to be logical and reasonable. You're not supposed to have any emotion when you're dealing with your job, and putting them into a super emotional like situation where your family is dying and you have to basically kill one of them to save the rest of them. So it's just a huge, you know, turn of the, you know, the scene basically of something that's super emotional being in a very unemotional setting, and how that translates in a new medium, I think.
I didn't find it slow either. Like I thought the first half of the movie, they kind of build this tension that you're waiting for this kid to snap and pretty much like attack the doctor. And then you get to this point where all of a sudden his son can't walk.
I mean, for me, like you don't know what their relationship is until an hour in. Like you don't know that there's any animosity.
But you start when he goes to meet his mother and has dinner, like obviously there's something a little more screwed up with this kid than where originally at the beginning.
But even that had to be like a half an hour in. Like that's not, I don't know. I didn't really feel that tension. I just felt I
don't think you watched it. I'm gonna be honest.
I felt like there was gonna be. I felt there was gonna be some reveal, like there was some kind of weird sexual thing between the two of them because of like why would this kid just be hanging around and like until the mother scene happens, like that, because even like when the kid comes to the hospital and he lies to the other doctor about him. You're just like, who the fuck is this kid? Like, why is he?
Well, yeah, I had the exact same thought too. But I think that's maybe why I didn't find this to be so slow. Is like I'm trying to figure out what's actually going on with this relationship here.
So like I think in a movie with a normal acting style, I would have been able to just like, cause I loved fucking the movie we just did with the kids in the 90s. Like that's an example of a really really slow burn, but I was connected with the character so I could get into it. Like I almost wonder if it's a different actor other than Farrell. There was something about his performance in particular that I just found really off-putting, like even more than the kids.
Well, I don't think he was meant to be approachable, right? Like Joe mentioned his sort of disdain for his wife, or at least the way he sort of like looked down on her professionally. I mean, he's just not a likable guy in the movie.
Right.
He's in some way, I mean, I think it's almost like too easy because it's kind of the cardiac surgeon stereotype that he's playing to a little bit, but
Don't we
it's
all
also
have that? Yeah, we know
it. But like, no, I don't know. I don't think he was meant to be likable. So I don't know.
The grossest scene in the whole movie is when he's like naked with his gut hanging out, just sitting in the corner of the bedroom, looking all sad, like in the shadows.
Yeah.
I was like, oh god, that is like existentially horrifying. That whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I mean, we can talk about some of the ridiculous lines in this movie because that stuff was interesting.
Well, I just wanted to respond really quickly. I mean, Cece mentioned like this is based, or at least like it's inspired by this like ancient tragedy, like this play. He's also Yorgos, my buddy. Is also he's been a theatrical director, right? So, and that again is pretty similar to Von Trier. They come with this background in coaching actors and just like shaping scenes, and so I do wonder how much is, and it's why. So, and this was something that's interesting. Colin Farrell is in both films, I believe. The friend, like the anesthesiologist, was he in The Lobster as well?
I think so. Yeah.
But
is he turning into a moose or something?
Yeah. The long story short is like a lot of the characters or people that have worked in this style, I think, are the type of people who like to work in style or can work in style. I mean, I don't know if you guys read, like there was a write-up I read about Colin Farrell not too long ago about if you notice, like he doesn't do big stuff anymore. Like he was in True Detective, but he's mainly been doing a lot of like art house stuff and really challenging himself. So I don't know. I think you got a group of actors together here who were kind of willing to like try some. I mean, look, there's some really risky shit in this movie. Like,
oh, for sure.
Half of the conversations, there is a hand job scene that is very graphic. There's just a lot going on.
I was really surprised.
What do you think they used for the sound on that? Like that?
That was a weird scene because like so he has information that she wants, and she's like,
she doesn't need it.
Give me the piece of information, and he's like, what do you do for me? And she goes, what you wanted that night at dinner, and then they immediately cut to like what is only the second saddest handjob scene of the last 6 months that we've seen. But I was like,
wait, what was the first?
The babysitter when they're in the hotel room. But like this is just so weird because like that's what he wanted. Like she looked at him over the dinner table and knew, oh, he wants a sad hand job right now. Like don't maybe there's actually something to it.
Is that like that's not the first time it's happened between them?
Yeah.
Is that the? I just okay. I didn't. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would.
I mean, she.
But that's what he
exactly
wanted.
What was gonna happen?
That's all he wants. It's just a weird.
She just knew how to work.
It's
that
just
hand
a dry. He just wants a dry
He's an old-fashioned
handy
guy. He still likes hand jobs.
Yeah, this is weird. I just thought that was weird. Literally everything I see, like Nicole Kidman for me really is like the shining spot in this movie. But everything I see her in recently, some dude is having weird sex with her. Like, can she just not get a role where some dude is not doing some weird thing to her?
Well,
it's weird.
Did you not see what was that HBO show, Big Little Lies?
Yeah, the dude is having tons of weird sex with her.
Yeah, she did. She got like the shit kicked
she's
out of
like,
her, and then they had sex.
yeah.
I only watched the first episode.
No, it's like
Jesus,
yeah.
thanks, guys.
How can you make that statement with?
No, that was specifically one of the things I was talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know. She's probably been in some like kids movies.
Bewitched. She had weird sex with Will Ferrell.
Yeah, she was in that one movie where she takes a bath with that one teenage kid. And... Oh, never mind.
Oh, the Paperboy.
Whatever.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. You guys just talk about what else you liked in it. I don't want to rain on your guys' parade. You guys talk about what else you liked in this movie.
Can we talk about the way that kid eats spaghetti?
Oh my god. Man. Well, I will say that actor. So the only other thing I've seen him in is in Dunkirk, which he doesn't really have that large of a role in that movie, but I have to say, like, he really carried that role in this movie, because it was super unsettling, and you want to feel sorry for him, and you kind of, he does a really good job of creating this, this palette for sympathy, or, maybe empathy at the beginning. And then it starts turning into this super bizarre, like, I don't know, like, you don't know if you're supposed to hate him or like root for what he wants. And it, like, you get a lot of really strange emotions from him throughout his performance. And that's super impressive, especially for a young actor. So
yeah, I would definitely, if I saw him on the road, I would definitely cross the street.
Yeah. I mean, he was as creepy as Ezra Miller in We Need to Talk About Kevin. Like,
oh my god, that scene where he's explaining to Colin Farrell why him and his mother would make a good couple.
Yeah.
He's like, she's lost a lot of weight. She's got a really good body. That's around where you start to think, like, all right, something ain't right here.
Yeah.
But like, I'll say the spaghetti scene, like, it's a ridiculous scene in so many ways, but like, it's actually like a really effective monologue. I thought.
I agree.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because it does walk that line between, like, is this supposed to be like humorous at a certain point, but then like he starts explaining like the way he eats spaghetti, and you're like, holy shit, like, is he about to snap on this woman?
Well, and it's really poetic. Like, it's so simple, and it's such a, well, first of all, it's such a childish act, because I mean, he's literally eating spaghetti in an undershirt that's like he's got it all over his face.
I'm pretty
sure, right?
Like
super, it's super uncommon. And the way he's explaining that he thought he was the only one who ate spaghetti this way, until he was told he eats it like his father, and then he realizes everyone eats it that way. And you're just like, there's a lot of layers to unfold there in a very simple, and almost a seemingly throwaway line. So I thought it was really clever.
It also, like, I think it was John's point that, like, you start to sympathize with him, because like that scene is kind of heartbreaking, because it's like he's talking about his dead father, and he thought he had like this like one connection that only him and his father had, and then he's like, then I realized like everybody eats this way, which is also ridiculous because nobody eats it that way.
All I could think of was just Joe going biscotti.
All I could think is he's got vomit on his shirt already.
Oh my god.
It's true.
Christ.
It's pretty true.
You touch a spaghetti.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that I don't know how I would have. I appreciated the ending. I don't know how I really would have rather things been tied up with Martin the boy character, but I don't know. There was a little something to be left desired for me in that. That was the only thing that I was really like, I know you see the family and they're kind of, they accept their fate, but then you just see him kind of,
Yeah,
I mean, let's be honest.
It's not a perfect film.
Right. Well, no. I know. I was just saying, I mean, if we're talking about it.
I guess we should say spoiler alert. If you want to know the ending, like, just skip ahead now. Like, I think the one thing that irked me was, like, if I was Colin Farrell, like, obviously the son would have been the first one to go. Like, 5-10 minutes it would have taken me to decide that.
Really? I would have killed the daughter.
You would have been like,
really?
I would have killed the daughter.
Flippy hair kid, you're gone, obviously. Sorry.
I was fine with his solution, except like the like do your thing and then stop and take the fucking blindfold off, and then she like really.
Oh, it was so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, that was where like it was intentionally comical.
Really?
Yeah.
But I think that's part of, like,
I don't
when
know. That's
Nicole
fucking
Kidman
dark.
starts to turn on the father. Like, I think that's why I really liked her character too, because she does kind of point out that, like, all right, this guy's a cardiologist. He's got his shit together. He's potentially good at what he does, but he's also kind of like a buffoon in this movie. Like, He doesn't really think things through. Like, he gets aggravated super quickly. Like, at one point, he throws his son on the ground and tells him to start walking. Like,
mashes the donut in his face.
Like
yeah.
Him, because I'm sure everybody that watches is like, why don't you just take off your mask then and shoot whoever you're closest to? But like, that felt perfect for who his character is. Like, of course, he's just gonna keep spinning and then take a shot.
That scene is pretty crazy, and I don't even know if it's the one I was talking about earlier, but where she just straight up tells him he's an idiot.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that it's really interesting too, like that right before that happens, you see Colin Farrell's character go to the school, which is like it's a super bizarre scene. He goes to the school and talks to the like principal of the school and asks him like, well, what do you think about my children? Yeah. Who performs better? Like, he's trying to make this really
he's pretty much asking the principal, which one should I kill?
Yeah, he's like, okay, well, they're both good at, like the boy's good at math and science and the girl's better at, history and English. And that's also kind of where he drops the principal drops this line that she has written an essay about this Greek tragedy / play, which, funny enough, the play she wrote about was being is the daughter of King Agamemnon, and she's sacrificed for him, whatever. But it's such a strange moment that he like is trying to distance himself from having to make the decision or having any responsibility for that decision, which is kind of what he does with his job. When his wife asks him, like, is it your fault that this kid's dad died? He's like, oh, it's never a surgeon's fault. It's always the anesthesiologist. And you're like, nah, I mean, there's a lot of other things happening here. So I thought
5 minutes later, the anesthesiologist completely negates that, says the exact same thing.
But it was just so crazy. I was like, how could you go to the school and just like try and like rationalize out which one of your children is the better child? It was super like, I don't know. It was very bizarre.
It was my favorite scene.
Yeah, it was really good.
Somebody made this decision for me.
Well, and the best was that the principal like treated it like a real question.
Right.
Because he basically asked him all these questions. Like, the principal's telling him about how each of the students are doing, and he just stops and he goes, "So if you had to pick one, which one would you pick?" And the principal stops and he goes, "Well, that's a really tough question." I was dying. I was legit like cracking up.
So I mean, I think that I think that he did try, like the director did try and really add a little bit of humor to this situation, but it's so dark and like outside of the realm of normalcy that it doesn't come across that way. So
well, I mean, like the scene between the son and daughter, like towards the end, where they know that one of them has to go.
Yeah.
And like they're pretty much like, well, it's gonna be you. They ordered me a piano. It's coming next week, so they obviously wouldn't have done that. And then the daughter, can I have your MP3 player when you are dead? Like, I always
because I keep losing mine. Not like, oh, I need one, but literally because I'm such a POS that I've lost 2, and I'm gonna take yours and lose it too after you're dead. Awesome.
So good. And the other thing, and we can kind of move on out of this, like the other thing that struck me as really sort of odd and sort of funny, like there's a scene where the daughter disappears and like ends up leaving the house. It was odd to me that the parents find out that she's missing and don't immediately go downstairs in the basement to check the kid that they've kidnapped. Yeah. They search every single room before like thinking to go down there. Like it was decisions like that I think the director made that like one up the tension, but also kind of just like baffled you as far as like what's actually going on here.
Can we also talk about how the director had that girl crawling around on not her hands and knees, just her hands?
Those kids, like, there's one scene where the son is like just flat out like drops himself off that bed.
She couldn't use her legs, John. How else would you crawl?
No, I know, but like she slides down the stairs. Like that was the goofiest shit. I was
and they just find her. They just
dropped. He was like a sack of potatoes.
Yes, I hope he had a good stunt double because that looked like it hurt.
They just find her like in somebody's yard in the dark, crawling.
Yeah, bleeding because her knees have been scraping on the ground.
Yeah, and that was the scene where he and the father have like the most awkward conversation of all time. But the dad is just like trying to make him walk like very angrily, obviously, and just dropping him. Oh man, this movie's crazy. It's a really fucking crazy movie.
Eric, are you glazed over yet?
Yeah. Yep.
I can tell you're reading something, so maybe we should wrap up.
All right. Killing of Sacred Deer. Would you guys recommend this movie? Cece?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Joe?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Sure, man. I don't know. Whatever. All right, guys.
You're allowed to say no.
Whatever. It didn't catch me on the right night. It's fine. All right, let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Someone has brought back the deadliest criminals in the city.
Remember the good old days when guns killed people?
But someone else just brought back the most dangerous cop.
You're good and you're dead.
Treat Williams, Joe Piscopo, dead heat. You can't keep a good cop dead. Rated R.
Hi, this is Harvey Stevens, Damien from The Omen, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back. Sorry, guys. It's been a little bit of a rough week over here at headquarters.
You know what'll be good for that? Bomb cyclone?
Yeah.
Bomb?
Some 16 inches of snow tomorrow. Should be great. info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. You know, it did make me smile this week, though, this email from Chris, and I think you'll know why in a second. Chris says, your list of 10 rare but good horror DVDs here on your site has 5 I've never heard of before that look great. Thanks, because I will instantly get them now. And I'm a 43-year-old who has a horror collection of over 1,000 DVDs even. Always collecting. Chris. And then he links me to...
your soulmate, Eric.
Then he links me to his site where he sells bootleg horror DVDs that I'm not going to read on the air, but his email made me laugh.
Always be collecting.
Do we have a list of rare horror DVDs?
It's got a... maybe? I have no idea. That
sure
email had
thing.
like a nice like Eastern Bloc flavor to it that I really enjoyed, so... And that's it. That's our only piece of fan mail this week. info@bloodygoodhorror.com.
Wow.
I don't know, man. It's a year-ender.
Top of the world.
Good times. Good times.
What we got on Twitter?
Okay.
You want to do some tweets, John?
Should we talk about tweets? All right. We'll start with our BGH classics. These are classic comments, witticisms from past episodes. So did we read this Robel one about Beergate?
Yeah.
I can't remember if we read it during the year ender because I got a little spicy toward the end there. So I'm just gonna read it here. So
Spicy.
Eric says Joe choosing to show up after Beergate, where it was revealed he's repeated beer picks. Joe, I'm the one who cracked that wide open. And then I said he was Deep Throat and Woodward.
Yes.
And Joe said just like college.
Yeah, we did.
Really good.
I think we did.
Really good one.
It's worth repeating.
Yeah. All right. So then Monica, our buddy Monica. All of my bones hurt lately. None of them are my favorite. That's an Eric from. Do you want to guess which episode that's from, Eric?
Oh, my bones hurt. I don't know. It's
That
got to be
sounds
something
right.
about bones, right?
It's Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah. Nice. That poor woman just making breakfast with 25 eggs. Breakfast tomahawk.
One more from our buddy Robel. He just says that time Joe was the only one who couldn't listen to the U2 album on iTunes.
So fucking pissed.
Man, that was good.
There was a total of 3 people that actually wanted that on their iPhone, and I was one of them, and I could not.
And
get
it was like an ongoing segment. I would check in with him every week.
It took me like 4 weeks.
Have you listened to the U2 album yet?
Yep.
And the worst part was, Joe, it was a U2 album.
Yeah, well, we each have our thing.
I guess.
So, all right, there you are. You can, as I think we always mention, you can support us on patreon.com to listen to back episodes of Bloody Good Horror. aka BGH Classics. So let's move over to Ask BGH. It is our kind of primary hashtag. I don't know. I'm gonna ramble here, Joe. I just want to warn you because the cold is really starting to get to me. So a llama named Paradise, that's at Spogeyman Dan, has horror been improving, declining, or staying the same in both quality and creativity these past few years?
I think it's hard to say, give one answer definitively. I think there's a lot of areas where there's been. You look at, like we were saying, there's 5 or 6 movies at least this year that easily could have made top 10 lists last year. So like the breadth of what we're getting, I feel like is great. But you still have the Wandaverse stuff has gone to shit now, and it's still a lot of what we're getting. So
I was going to direct Spogeyman Dan to our episode last week to answer this question, but yeah, that's fair. Sorry, Joe, go ahead.
No, but I think, to your point, we mentioned it last week on the episode, we talked about each one of us how putting together our top 10 list was probably the easiest it's been in years.
Yeah.
I remember there was a few years where some of us didn't even have 10 movies, where this year I felt like there was ones that I had to choose between putting on the list and not. And there was a bunch of stuff that I missed, like this movie this week, it definitely would have made if I had seen it. So I think we've seen an improvement, at least over the last year or so.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that I feel like there's an improvement because a lot of the lesser known or the kind of, indie flicks are getting an easier release or kind of more popularity. And that's really, driving a lot of creativity. So I think so.
I think things like Get Out and It, doing so well, and even Splice, or no, not Splice. What was it Splice? What's the one with the?
Split.
Split. Yeah,
Splice
I think
was
those.
Also a good movie,
Splice was cool too. Yeah, I like Splice.
Those doing so well have kind of helped push horror more into the mainstream and allow some of these probably lesser known directors.
And you're still getting sequels and remakes, but you're also getting, thanks pretty much exclusively to Jason Blum and Mark Duplass, you're also getting a lot of these pretty energetic original things out there, which is cool.
Yeah, I mean A24 is the non-Blum distributor. That's they did Killing of Sacred Deer. They did.
Is there an air raid siren going on somewhere?
What the hell is that?
It's an ambulance. All right.
Oh, okay. Is it coming for you?
It's the bomb cyclone, guys. It's coming.
It's bomb cyclone. Yeah.
No, but they did a ghost story, which we actually never talked about on the show. I still haven't seen it, but they did. It Comes at Night. They're doing, I would say, I don't want to say experimental, but definitely smaller stuff as well.
Do we ever get a copy of that ghost story? I want to see that.
We do have a copy of that.
Sweet.
Yeah. All right, let's move along. Library O Congress, that's at Library O Congress, says, Jesus, Joe started complaining about wanting to be done with the year-end episode starting less than an hour into it. Where was he so impatient to be at 8:30 p.m. on a Thursday? Did he have a hot date with Cece's husband to go to?
I wish. No, just bed.
Yeah, it's bed. Yeah.
There's a logical answer.
Dude, I listened back, and just hearing how tired I was at the end made me tired, in first thing in the morning.
Yeah. It's a marathon. We're old men now. We're not used to these 2-hour podcast episodes.
No, and we also started late because of Mark.
We did.
Cece, you're the youngin around here. We're gonna need you to carry the 2-hour episodes going forward.
All right. Yeah. I'll double up on the Theraflu.
I made it.
We'll slowly start dropping off, and Cece will just be by herself.
I somehow made it until 11:30 on New Year's Eve, but I could not stay up till midnight. It was just it. I was like, nope, I'm going. My wife got mad at me.
So I was at a wedding. That's probably why I have this godforsaken death cold right now.
On New Year's Eve?
Thanks.
On New Year's Eve?
I feel yeah, on New Year's Eve.
That's pretty sweet. So you guys all stayed up till midnight, I assume?
Yeah, I mean, we stayed up to 12:15. So it was good.
My wife just texted me from the other room. You made it to 11, not 11:30. Whatever.
I like that she's fact checking.
Semantics.
Real time. Cool.
I'll pick up if you want, since you can't speak. Next up from Skizbot, and I'm not comfortable asking this, but it fits the movie.
You gotta hit it. This one had me cracking
up. What's everyone's favorite jerking off their sleeping drunk dad story from their childhood?
Yeah, that moment in the movie, I was like, whatever, man. I'm checked out of this. I don't have any response to that.
And then at Bad Attitude for You follows it up with, who wants spaghetti?
Spaghetti.
Dude, I love spaghetti. Kyle does not like spaghetti, but I would legit eat it 3 times a week.
Who doesn't like spaghetti? Why doesn't he like spaghetti?
Your boyfriend. Well, he likes turkey or chicken spaghetti, not regular spaghetti. I don't know.
Wait, what the hell is chicken
spaghetti made out of turkeys? What is that? What sort of backwoods country shit are you guys making down there?
I will never understand the South.
We make our pasta out of meat.
Yeah.
The pasta. The shit you put in the sauce.
You're high. This is what happens when...
Oh, man.
All right.
I guess it's like trying to get a good piece of pizza like in Florida or something. It's just not possible.
Goddamn Midwest. All right. Next up from @JD_Berg. I'm not going to pronounce this guy's name right. Where does Barry Cogan's character rank in the pantheon of creepy horror movie kids? One of the best in recent memory for me.
He is pretty creepy. I will give him that.
Yeah.
He's creepy, but he also, we kind of talked about it, like has a bit of like, you feel bad for him. Like he's not just outright like this kid's batshit crazy and going to do something awful. It's kind of like, like is this
he also
learning disability.
Well, I was gonna say he's not pure evil, right? Like he has that. He's able to play the like I'm a confused kid part pretty effectively.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of the sympathy comes from. But
yeah, exactly. Next up, we got 2 from @Watchfires Mitch. It says, "Happy New Year, guys! Love the show. Not 100% caught up on episodes. Some of the movies aren't out in the UK, and I like to see them first. So may have missed some talk about upcoming reviews. But wonder if Trashfire or Tragedy Girls figured into your plans at all." Tragedy Girls was almost the pick for this week, right? We did and it just barely lost out.
I was going to suggest we actually run that back next week because I think we've already discussed that we're going to have to pick up a
it is the week after
home watch.
Yeah, so we're talking about we were definitely going to try to get Insidious: The Last Key in, but maybe a week after release, which I don't think anybody's clamoring to go see that, so they can probably hang out a week and wait.
Yeah.
There's also a bomb cyclone happening, so
it's true.
Cece literally might not survive the weekend.
Yeah,
absurd. So,
and I've never heard of Trashfire. Have you guys?
Yeah, it's got the guy from Entourage, the main guy.
Jeremy Piven? Oh.
No, with the Adrian.
Yeah.
Barbeau. I think you're thinking of PCU.
The Barbobot.
Barbobot.
Jeremy Piven, PCU.
I know which guy you're talking about.
Now Joe's got me making his dumb joke 10 years later. Adrian Barbobot.
Eventually I will just fade into the back of you guys. I feel like 10 years ago you would have loved this movie and I would have hated it.
Yeah,
so I feel like
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I'm assuming Trashfire is a British deal, just because he said he's in the UK, but maybe not. We'll check it out.
And then another one from @Watchfires Mitch. Ask BGH. A beer question for Joe. Have you ever tried any Brewdog beers? Scottish brewers who recently opened a brewery in Columbus, Ohio. Not sure how widely distributed they are in the States, but worth looking into. Jet Black Heart would be a good beer guts candidate. I have those guys. So I don't, if you're kind of new to the show, I usually try and have beers that I can actually get here. And I usually, just because a lot of times shipping messes up the taste of a beer, I usually drink more American brews, not because I think they're better or, whatever, but they're just, shipping and sitting on boats and planes and whatever for like weeks at a time usually fucks up the taste of the beer. But Brewdog, I've had a handful of their beers. They actually had a show here in the U.S. I don't know if it was over in any place else, but it was on the Esquire channel where the 2 guys came over and would like collaborate brewing with different breweries in different cities. And it was really great. Those guys seemed like a lot of fun. So I really appreciate their beers. I'd love to get out to the brew pub in Columbus, but I like those guys a lot. So yeah. 2 more. Next one from our good friend @FreddyNOTLP. He just says spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
Oh, you touch a spaghetti.
Classic spaghetti made with chickens.
Oh, I do love a good turkey spaghetti.
First of all, if you're gonna make a proper spaghetti sauce, you got to make it with pork.
No.
Pork sausages, and that's how you make it, and ribs. It's
okay,
meat.
Obviously we have very differing views on spaghetti sauce.
Because you live in the South, and I live where the Italians are.
Well, tell some Italians to move down here. I don't know what to tell you.
Because when you think of Boston, you think Italian heritage.
Yeah, dude. You ever been to the north?
Drunken Irishmen's open bars.
You ever been to the North End, Joe? It's like Little Italy.
Absolutely not.
It's the best Italian food you'll ever have.
At Jaguana91, did anyone else find the way they spoke in the killing of a sacred deer insufferable? Yes, Eric did.
Yeah, a little bit. Like, glad to know at least there's one other of me out there.
There is. It's you and this guy's name I can't pronounce.
Cool.
BFFs.
Solidarity.
And
buddy.
that is it.
Solidarity.
For tweets.
We made it.
This weekend, tweet with BGH. Hang out with the new class. Watch Your Next. Keep an eye on your Patreon email. Pre-show should start 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I always forget, and then Sophie texts me like 20 minutes before, and I'm like, oh, son of a bitch. So there you go, because I have to like host the stream. It's a whole thing. So next week, what are we doing, John? Make the call.
I think we go Tragedy Girls.
Tragedy Girls.
It was a close, very close second place.
So if you want to vote, you can become a patron, join our Slack. That's who we let vote on this show. So I blame them. Mm-hmm. And then we'll push Insidious Key Fingers, or whatever the hell that movie was about, to the week after that. And there you go. And hopefully the bomb cyclone will be gone by then, John.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Good luck, Cece.
Thank you. We're buckling down. I was gonna say we bought some bread and some water, so
I was gonna say you bought some spaghetti and some turkey. So you're
we got a turkey. We got the pasta roller out. We're gonna shove that turkey right in there.
Yeah, I have a live turkey in my garage. It's perfect.
Nice.
Good times.
Good times.
All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode of Bloody Good Horror. Let's call it a sleepy start to 2018, but we'll get back in our game next week. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you then.
See you.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.